Monica, Jim, I'm really happy to have you here. We're really excited. LucidLink has been working with Final Pixel for a while together. And before we really dig in, if you can just sort of give me a quick overview of some backstory on Final Pixel and sort of almost what does virtual production mean? Because it could mean so many different things.
I'm glad you asked. I have a little presentation here. Here we go. Well, you guys nailed our first slide, literally to the word. So I'm not going to read that. That's who we are. Basically, we are capable of creating a virtual production from the very inception of creative to post, the entire process end to end. But the question is, what is virtual production? It is the combining of the digital and physical worlds at the same time. Oh, you're not on.
That is correct.
So basically, we're taking a bunch of technologies that have existed for quite a while, putting them together in a new way, adding them in with some traditional production, foreground elements, creating an illusion where ideally the viewer doesn't know where the physical world ends and the digital world begins. That's our goal. So basically, we're taking old technology of playing video and still plates on LED and taking it a step further so that it creates a realistic 3D environment that involves parallax. And if you don't know, parallax is how your eyes and therefore your brain register 3D space. It is basically, imagine you're on a train. The trees closest to you are whipping past you. You can hardly see them. The homes in the middle distance are going by, relatively quickly. You could see the front doors, but they're moving on. And then the mountains in the background are barely moving. It takes about 40 minutes to pass one. That different speed based on space from where you are is how you understand you are in a 3D environment, a real environment. If everything were moving at the same pace, it would be still, it would be flat. And up until now, that's how we've been able to use LED volumes, put something on, but as soon as there's any sort of real camera movement, you immediately see it all move at the same time and it's not realistic. So we're creating parallax. How do we do that? There's a few key elements you need. You need a video game engine to build your environment. So we're creating our environments in 3D, generally an Unreal Engine, and this allows the 3D to render in real time. So no longer are you creating a 3D environment or asset, trying to get the camera data from the shoot, render everything for hours or days, and then composite it in post. You can do it all live on set once you've built your environment in Unreal. Camera tracking, you want to take that, Jim?
Sure. Well, in order for this illusion to work of seeing a 3D rendered background on the LED wall moving in the correct perspective, there's a virtual camera inside Unreal Engine, which needs to be moving exactly the same way and in perfect lockstep with the practical camera that would be on your stage. So there's a variety of technologies to track the position of a physical camera in 3D space. Most of the people that provide that technology are here at this show. And basically that data of where that camera is moving in 3D space is getting pumped into Unreal Engine, and the camera in Unreal Engine is doing the exact same motion and able to render out the background with the same perspective that you would have seen were it actually in front of your eyes.
And the third is you need your LED wall. This is the volume. You can set it up any way you need for your creative. This setup is what we tend to like in a lot of our commercial shoots, but you can build it any way you want. In a horseshoe, 360, you can do a much smaller. It really depends. You can add an LED ceiling or floor. It's really flexible. You need to determine the pixel pitch you want on your panels, which affects what you're building and how your camera moves, all of that. But a lot of detail, you can talk to us afterwards if you have any questions. But top level, you need an LED volume. And here's an example of a camera putting all of these technologies together. So the rectangle you see moving is called the frustum. That's what the camera is seeing. And that's the only part of the wall we actually render. There's no reason to render anything the camera's not seeing. We don't want to waste that render capability. But so you see the frustum moving around in relation to the camera and the environment moving around in relation to the camera, most importantly. So you can see those pillars are moving at different speeds, which gives you an illusion of reality. So again, we combine that with foreground elements. That's really the ultimate key in creating this to be realistic. You want to put some foreground elements. It doesn't have to be a lot, but enough to help sell that. And you've got a realistic environment. I have our reel that we're going to run real fast, and then we're just about finished with our spiel.
Dancing, it's written in the stars.
Family to me are the people that show you unconditional love and support.
Dancing with the Stars will blow you away.
Oh, thank you. And real quickly, just some of the benefits. We could talk on this for 4 days, but
Yeah, so just real quick, why we use this technology. Basically, traditionally in visual effects, if you're combining live action actors or elements with CG, you need to match that lighting on the CG elements so they're properly integrated. It's a big issue, and there's a lot of techniques used to do that. Is that me? Oh, it's other music. There's a lot of techniques used to do that, but basically with an LED volume, if you've got the volume surrounding your actors, that they're being lit by that environment. So right through the camera right away, they look perfectly integrated. So that's a big deal. The actors are able to see the environment around them. They're not just standing on a green screen void and acting to things that aren't really there. And reusable 3D sets.
yeah, you can reuse your set as often as you want. When you're finished, you store it on LucidLink. And then 3 months later, when your client wants to shoot on it again, you bring it up. If you need to add some Christmas decorations, you do it digitally. It's very simple. You don't have to store sets. You don't have to trash sets. There's a lot of really green, sustainable benefits of this type of production. You don't have to travel to places. You can shoot in 4 cities in one day. And you can bring the location to the studio. So you don't have to worry about weather issues. You can shoot magic hour all day. So these things really benefit creative, also timelines and budgets. And what you see is what you get.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks right. It looks right in camera. So limited post-production.
There it is. Whoops. That's
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I have lots of questions about this. So when you are working with virtual production, how big are the teams usually for like a standard production? Are there certain roles that you find that you have in virtual production? Obviously, if you have Unreal Engine, you have people doing coding, you have programmers, you have more 3D modeling. How does that differ from the old ways in traditional production?
Oh, sure. Well, gosh, I mean, traditional production, if it's especially if it doesn't involve visual effects, is job roles that have been around for many years. And now with virtual production, we've got a lot of CG assets. We've got production designers that are getting involved early in the process, that are involved in helping us create these environments. We're doing pre-visualization of any of the projects that we work on. We're able to pre-visualize in the computer. So we've got previs artists that are working on that. You're creating environments that need to be lit. So you've got people doing look development on the environments and lighting them. So there's many different roles that are involved in in creating all of this that just didn't exist before.
Yeah.
Or if they did exist, they existed in post-production. because a lot of what's happening now, in order for this to work, is if you can imagine, if you're creating these environments, well, they need to be ready to go before you shoot, not shooting on somebody on a green screen and then creating it all in post.
Yeah, and I, speaking from personal experience, I've spent way too much time chroma keying out a green screen, working on those edges, and it never gets quite right.
You don't have to do that
Yeah,
anymore.
I know, that's wonderful. So for the new field of, say, cinematographers that are coming up, is there something that you're looking for specifically in how they interact with technology or a knowledge base? Are there certain skills that you're looking for?
From my experience, we really want cinematographers that are open. You know, a lot of times they can be really set in their ways. So finding someone that's really open and excited about new technology and willing to come in earlier. You know, if you got someone that says, this is my day rate, the second you call me, you're charging that. Well, that's not the kind of person we need, at least in this stage of virtual production. We need someone that's going to join early on. One of my favorite things as the producer that's managing client expectations is what we're showing them in pre-visualization and in our review meetings are actual versions of what they're going to see on stage. And so even the lighting, we get the DP involved once our environment is relatively far along, and they start lighting it so that we are showing our clients our lighting weeks before the shoot. So on the morning of, there's no question or debate or dialing in. I mean, there's obviously work to do with the practical lighting in the studio, but the mood, the lighting is all set. And so DP that's really willing to come in and work with our VAD, our virtual art department that's building the environment early and have that touch point is incredible.
And to understand that the lighting they're doing, even if it's, you know, on the 3D environment at that point, it's still lighting and still requires, you know, their eye and their expertise, and that they, you know, willing to embrace that just as they embrace, you know, the practical on-set lighting. And not only the lighting, but as far as previs goes, because we're building these environments ahead of time, we could be talking about camera movement, and we can be, you know, allowing the DP to be doing, you know, virtual camera moves, you know, using an iPad and seeing the 3D environment on the iPad, and we can record those moves. So we could be doing previs that's not just something we're making our best guess at, but it's previs that the DP actually wants to shoot. So by the time they show up on set, hopefully many decisions have been made, and it just makes everything much more efficient.
That's so cool. So are there certain types of technology, you just mentioned an iPad, that aren't necessarily what you would think of as being a tool that would be inherent to virtual production that you're finding you can mix in with your tool set?
The reason I use the iPad example is because it's accessible. There's apps that integrate with Unreal Engine that enable you to, again, drive a virtual camera in Unreal Engine, but use the iPad. And that's something that a lot of people have. If you really want to take it one step further, you can also do this with VR goggles, with Oculus headsets. So, you know, the three of us could have our Oculus headsets on, and we're seeing virtual versions of each other standing in the 3D space of the set that we're building that's going to be on the LED wall. And if you're the DP, you know, in VR, you could be saying, like, how about this shot? And you can even say, hey, come on over to where I'm standing, and I'll show you the shot I'm thinking of. So that's, you know, sort of an extra step. I don't know that everybody's completely comfortable with that right now, but it's definitely getting used more and more.
But that's a completely new way of sort of attacking the creative and being collaborative and brainstorming. And I would think that these tools that you're mentioning, whether it's iPad or VR goggles, those give your clients a more tangible expectation and idea of what the final product is going to look like.
Absolutely. This is my favorite kind of production I've ever done. If you communicate effectively with your client, there are no surprises. They see exactly what they're getting the entire time. It is incredible. And the VR thing, I was laughing when he was saying it because it is a really cool technique, but I think it's totally unnecessary. And a lot of people think like, oh, we're going to have to ship everyone a VR headset. No, because really they care about the shot. And often what we're doing is just all jumping on Zoom, and we'll have, you know, one of our designers running Unreal and showing everyone the shots we have planned based on what the director and DP have worked out. But my point is, the number of times over the years I've shown up on set and the client's like, I don't like that rug, and you don't have a backup rug, and it 3 hours later,
It's true.
and now it's all signed off. They've seen everything, and it's what's really cool because of the pandemic. We do a lot of virtual video village, so the client, by the time we're shooting, they're watching everything on their monitor at home, and they're just watching in camera, and they actually forget it's virtual because they're not on stage seeing the volume, so they get totally lost in it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that sounds it. So when you are working with a new client, I feel like virtual production, it's been around for a little while, but to the masses, it's still very new and many people don't even know about it. So when you're talking to a new client, how do you convince them the virtual production is the way to go?
Generally, at this stage, it's about budget. It's convincing. If we can show them that it will look good and save them money, then they'll listen. And that's not always the case. I've had many clients bring us a project and they'll say, this isn't a good use of this. You're going to spend too much money unnecessarily. You should still do that green screen, or you should still do it traditionally. If you have a bunch of actors you can hire and you want to shoot in a house and it's not lockdown, go shoot in the house. There's no need. But if you have a set that you're going to reuse over and over again for the next few years, let's talk. Or if you're talking about traveling people to 4 different cities, let's talk. Or if you have your talent available only for half a day and you need multiple scenes out of them, let's talk. Those things are expensive on their own, but compared to the traditional solution for them, they're excessively cost saving.
Yeah. So you're really taking new technologies and using them to save time, save money, save effort, maintain that creativity, keep everyone focused on the task at hand. That's really cool. So you have productions going in. You have offices in London, New York, and LA, correct?
Yes, we are completely virtual. We started during the pandemic.
Okay.
Our people are everywhere. We've done productions in New York, LA, and London. And we have teams kind of in those hubs, but also everywhere. We have a bizarre hub in Columbus, Ohio that has ended up there. I mean, we're literally everywhere.
And so if you're all virtual, if you're all remote,
yeah.
How do you source your talent now?
Well, what I love is it's not based on where they are. I have learned time zones are very important. So when I'm posting for roles, I post our preferred time zone. And if, the beauty of that is people can live whatever life they want. So if they want to work all night, that's fine, as long as we're on the same page of when you're available. But I mean, we're open to people everywhere. And honestly, it's better for us when we have people more spread out, because then we're more able to service clients and productions in various places. And we're trying, one of our major tenets is sustainability, which is this production compared to traditional is so sustainable in so many ways. It is not perfect, and we're working on making it better. But one of our things, I really want to minimize traveling our teams, because right now the talent, there's a very small talent pool. And so for our productions, the key people that need to be there, we're still having traveling around. So it's key to us to have people all over the world, so we're not traveling as many people to productions.
And there's also two sort of main groups of people. We've got the people that can work remotely and do work remotely, and it works, which is more of our visual effects supervisor and our VAD team, our virtual art department, who are creating these environments. And really, that can be, works very well completely remotely. And then we've got the people that need to be there on set when we're shooting, and those people are need to travel to the actual shoots.
Right.
One good thing about having the VAD team spread out is, we can almost work on a 24-hour cycle, because we did a shoot in LA where it's like, we're making changes and doing work there, and it's like, okay, well, while we're sleeping, you guys can be, in Europe working on it and making adjustments. That'll be there when we come in the morning. So that's actually an advantage in a way.
So I know that you've been using LucidLink for a little while. Can you talk a little bit about how LucidLink, what role LucidLink plays in these projects, where your creatives are, how the communication goes, anything in that?
Well, I'd say about 3,000 times a day, I say, it's on Lucid. That's our catchphrase. It's on Lucid.
That's great.
Because, our first 6-8 months as a rapidly growing company, we were a mess. So no one knew where anything was ever. So it became quick. I'd say around month 8 or 9, it became obvious, especially as we were hiring more people, like we need to get this under control. Also, security is a really big thing to us. We have yet to be required to be compliant, but we will be soon, I know. And we were doing a project on G Drive, and one of my freelancers said, I could hack into this. And it was very important to our client that it was secure. He's like, I could hack in this tomorrow if I wanted. And we're like, oh God, okay. But mostly, we didn't know where anything was. So honestly, we put everything on there, from our project work to our marketing, our brand, our logo, anything anyone needs. And I love that we can manage permissions for, the partners have like our own separate server. And then we have, we know as soon as someone's an employee or a freelancer or on a project, just what bucket to stick them in, and they immediately have access to what they need.
And, these projects, these environments they're quite large, and we've been working on several of them at once. And really, with everything on LucidLink, everybody can have access to it all the time, and it's remarkably fast and interactive. I don't exactly know how it does it, but it's extremely transparent. It's as if the server's down the hall. So we're constantly just saying, the project's on Lucid. You can get make your changes to it, and then somebody else working somewhere else can pick it up later, and it just works great.
Very cool. And so you're working with incredibly large files a lot of the time, and they're being utilized in a way different from how a standard video file would be. You have these virtual environments, and Unreal is helping to control what's being shown and rendering. Have you had any challenges or experiences in dealing with these large files along the way that come to mind?
Well, I have a good experience that's happening literally right now. I have a project delivering today for Dish Network, and my lead environment artist is in Hungary, and he's putting the finishing touches on it that our team in Florida, Ohio, and London have all been working on, but he's doing the final render, and my editor is in LA standing by for the file to do the add it to the mix and do the final delivery. And my producer's in LA, and my client's in Colorado. Wow. And it's a 3 gig file, which coming from Hungary to LA is legit. Obviously we deal with much bigger files, but I would be very panicked right now if we didn't have that workflow in place.
Well, I'm glad that you have peace of mind, and that you're able to do to work like this, because that's never been possible before. And so, as far as the virtual production, I'm just really curious. Does anything come to mind as far as a time when it's been implemented in a really unexpected way, or a client wanted to use it in a way that you hadn't considered, or maybe just a favorite use case?
Well, I'll tell you, Hungry today is a big favorite use case of mine. Well, and I'm still using or learning. I realized I had an audio mixer working on this, and I was uploading the file to an old place that I generally work with him, and waiting for it to go up there, and then telling him where it was. And and all of a sudden I was like, wait, I just need to sign up. I just need to get him on our Lucid account. I wasted probably 6 hours 2 days ago doing this archaic process, because that's just what I've always done with this guy. So I didn't think of it, but I thought, oh, this is crazy. So we've got him up today, and now it's no big deal.
That's great. Anything as far as like the
just jobs that we've done? Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of technology that goes into pulling this off, and then there's sort of tentacles into other related technologies that can all be brought together. And the more that you bring together and make work together to pull something off, it's always like really cool and satisfying. So like one recent example, and this has been around for a few years, but it's using Unreal Engine to control DMX, lighting on stage, and vice versa. So basically, DMX is a lighting protocol to control lights used for, on film sets and stage shows for many years. But basically, and there's typically a lighting board on set that would be used to control, if you've got moving lights, and the board op on set would be controlling them. Well, for the Dancing with the Stars shoot, that set had a lot of virtual moving lights in it. So we made those all DMX controllable so that they could be controlled by the board op on stage, just the same way that he was able to control the practical moving lights on stage. And then once we were able to turn that control over, it's like, great, we don't have to animate those lights. They're controlling them. And that once they wrapped their heads around that, it was like they just became like real light fixtures to them. So the DP's talking to the board op saying, that one up there, but it's on the LED screen. Let's bring that one down a little bit. Let's have those go faster. And so I thought that was a cool integration of technology.
I have one thing to add. A project we were doing with Scripps Networks. It was one of our first, and my director was like, I really don't like where that steam funnel is. It's coming out of the actor's head. And literally our team in the UK took the file, changed it in the UK, sent it back, and it was fixed on screen. I think it took 8 minutes total for the whole thing. And God, that blew my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it just really gives you that extra flexibility. And are there challenges of seeing when you need to actually react to those opportunities? Or, I mean, so in practical production, which this is sort of blurring the line between practical, it has practical techniques that you're using with sort of future technologies, and you're getting that production. But normally, if a client would say, I don't like the positioning of this in some sort of build that you've already done, you say, well, that's what it is. Did it take some time to understand all the things that you're capable of doing?
Oh, I'm not going to know in 5 years from now everything we're capable of doing. That's what I love about right now in virtual production. It's so new, and I can't wait for 3-5 years from now to look back and have us realize, oh my gosh, we had just scratched the surface at that point. A really basic experience for me that really opened my eyes at the very beginning. It was our very first test shoot, and it was in our reel, the cute little girls in the science classroom. And we just purchased the 3D environment and optimized it for our needs. And we were spending days looking for chairs that matched the 3D ones to have in the foreground. And we couldn't find them anywhere. And all at once we realized, wait, we can change the chairs in the 3D. So my director got the chairs he wanted and that I could find. And then we just changed them in the environment. And to me, that was a big light bulb moment for me of this is it's the opposite of what I'm used to, and very freeing.
Yeah, there's something kind of magical about the idea that you can think it and then it happens, right?
Related note, you were talking about, making changes on set. Well, what we can actually do that's if you want to do this is pretty straightforward to set up is if we've got a virtual environment and we want to be able to move things, we can put controls on an iPad to say, I want to have the freedom later to move that chair around. So if we think the director might want to move that chair around, let's put that on a slider, and I can be standing over here on my iPad, and the director can say, can we move that chair over? And it'll just move over, or change lighting. We can do lots of changes like that, live and in front of, in front of their eyes. Needs to be prepped for a little bit, but it's really remarkable in a way that you would never. It's going to take some time to make any change, but if it was a physical change on a physical set, you'd have to have 3 people come in and pick up the sofa and move it, and it's going to hold you up for 20 minutes. So that's really exciting to see how far that goes.
That's so cool. So I really appreciate you both being with us today. I think this is just an exciting direction in production and post-production and how we tell stories and convey our ideas. And what I really love to see is that, you have this opportunity right now to sort of create the lexicon and the conventions and all the techniques that are going to sort of be the precursor to everything that we're going to see in virtual production over the next few years. And I know it's just going to, I know that we're going to see more and more, but
And it's fun.
there we go.
That's the other thing. It's very fun. Figure all this stuff out.
It seems like you really enjoy it. But Monica, Jim, thank you so much
You
for.
bet. Well,
for
thank
spending
you, and thank
time
you all
with
for
us.
listening.
Thank you.